If you're watching this, you're probably a Period 5 student on Monday, September 23rd, or maybe, if I'm not back yet from Italy, P9, P10 on that Tuesday, September 24th. You do have a test next class, and you're probably a little stressed out with the weird dynamics of the finish of Unit 3. You can see the point breakdown with stimulus, matching, and 2 writing questions. I'm here to alleviate probably the most stress by explaining writing question stuff, and then probably more importantly to you, what does a team test look like in AP US History? I'll get back to the team stuff. Writing question 1, SAQ, you've seen a couple of these already. Stimulus based, chart, graph, doing historical passages, 6 points. That's writing question number 1. Now, writing question number 2, the all-important context thesis, the opening paragraph to any long-form essay. We're going to do an APUSH this year. To be clear, you're just doing the opening paragraph. You're not writing an essay on the test. We worked with these and we had some struggles with them early on with Units 1 and 2. You're going to see that again, and you're not going to stop seeing it until the end of May. But the good news is I've given you 3, and the only 3 possible prompts for that last writing question I'm going to spit out at you, and again, you're only going to get 1, with ideas for how to begin the context passage, establishing that in the years leading up to previously on U.S. history, as I like to describe it sometimes, and then that context will guide you into writing a thesis statement. Big tip, a lot of times people write too little for context and too much for thesis statements. General rule of thumb, 3 or 4 sentences for context is usually sufficient as long as it's practical and accurate. And then 1 or 2 sentences, take a stance, make an argument, be practical. 1 or 2 sentences for a thesis statement is solid. So these recommendations are beginnings. They're like little push starts to get the swing moving. But if you fill this out for each of the 3, you'll feel really good about things, I believe, for that last writing question. Now, the greater level of stress and confusion for this test coming up might be the team element, but it should be a lot more good than harm, because in some ways it's legal cheating with the teams that we've created for Unit 3. Couple ground rules. 1, it is closed to the traditional forms of cheating, like notes, study guides, out, phones, Google, other tabs, AI. That stuff is still monitored, but speaking with your teammates, and only your teammates, you're not allowed to bounce around the room, is totally fair game. Now, teams, you should, matching multiple choice writing, you should have a determined order for how you're going to take the test. You are not allowed to have 2 kids on matching, 2 on multiple choice, 1 on writing. You should all be at the same section, and if it's multiple choice, the same question, at the same time with each other. Of course, if you get stuck on something, you can go back later in the test. We need to mark question 8, whatever. Writing questions are done separately. That does not mean you have to go silent when you hit the writing section. You're allowed to ask questions of each other. How should we approach this? What's our strategy? But you are not allowed to have the smart kid write answers and then turn his or her iPad and show it to others and they all copy it down. Your eyes should stick to your iPad. There shouldn't be, sliding over or anything like that. And you write your own stuff. Your hands type out your answer, but you can still use communication with each other to give ideas and advice, but you're not having one person write the exact same words for all 5 kids. There should be uniqueness in each student's writing. Big thing that to avoid issues, all members submit at the same time. You're not going to see what answers are right or wrong when you submit anyways, but we want to avoid any situation where let's be honest, a sneaky kid holds their submit while everybody else, maybe they get to see their scores and they're like, oh no, I should change a couple of my answers at the last second. That's completely unfair, and that's not going to fly. Speaking of changing, you're not required to agree on every multiple choice or matching question. If 2 kids are in love with option D and 3 kids are adamant that it's B, you don't have to fight each other for 15 minutes to become unanimous. Just have the 3 put D and the 2 put whatever and just move forward. You don't all have to agree. Because it's team testing, it will be different than Unit 1 and 2. There won't be corrections for team testing. Your score is your score. Now, Absences, it's, I mean, in terms of like skipping and just like, whatever, you really don't want to do that on team testing days because they're a really, really great opportunity, excuse me. But absences will happen, college visits, sickness, all that kind of stuff throughout the year. For people that are in the room, anyways, and you have someone gone, the show goes on. Okay, so if you have your most talkative member, or maybe you have a member of your team that has a really, really good grade in the class, and they're gone, you can. This is another reason why everyone still needs to study and prepare as an individual student for tests. And this happened a few times last year. You still are expected to take the test, and that person that you maybe wrongly were counting on to bail you out isn't there. That's on you, not them, if they're gone for an excused reason. Makeups, if you are to miss on the other side of the coin, are generally last year were individually made up with a slightly alternated version of the exam. But if you know of students, not necessarily on your team even, in your period, or in my other APUSH periods that also missed the test, you are allowed, if you can get with them coordinated time to be in a room together with enough time to take the test, you would be allowed to do like an alternate team collab test makeup. But I am not going to plan or organize that for you. You would have to do it on your own time. And sometimes kids, hey, I'll just make it up individually, keep it simple, and move forward into our next unit. So hopefully that explains. I'll go over it one last time right before the test, but hopefully that alleviates some of the worries and confusion you might have about taking a team test in APUSH.